This is My Next Question, a Jewelers of America and National Jeweler podcast, sponsored by DARM International. Hi, welcome to My Next Question, a Jewelers of America and National Jeweler podcast. I'm Amanda Gizzi.
And I'm Michelle Graff.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the second episode of My Next Question.
I'm so excited because we have two great guests today, and we have a topic that everybody loves, which is jewelry trends. But before we get into all that, we're going to talk about a couple of the events that have been making headlines recently. We're going to again talk about the price of gold.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about consumer confidence in January, because those numbers just came in. And I think we should talk a little bit about MJSA and their bench apprentice program.
Yeah, there's a lot that's been happening in the jewelry industry. So jewelry never sleeps, as they say, right, Michelle?
Yes, I just want to say this. I forgot to mention this last episode. Anytime I tell people what I do, they always ask me, they're like, well, what do you write about when it comes to jewelry? Like, what do you write about every day? And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea the endless number of news stories and angles and issues that come up. I was like, there's never a shortage of news to report on. And we're going to get into that in this next segment called Jewelry Never Sleeps. We'll be back after this short message.
DARM International is a global leader in natural diamond manufacturing, delivering exceptional craftsmanship through advanced traceability and net zero sustainable practices since 2022. With over 50 years of expertise and 4,500 skilled artisans, they craft diamonds from 0.18 to 100 plus carats, supporting retailers worldwide with consistent quality and responsible sourcing. Visit www.ddpl.com to learn more.
So the first bit of jewelry news I want to talk to you about today is something that just happened as of this recording, and we learned that the International Gemological Institute is acquiring American Gemological Laboratories, probably better known as IGI and AGL.
We love a good acronym.
The industry loves an acronym, and I think a lot of times, the institutions are better known by their acronyms than they are by their full names. So this is interesting from two perspectives. First, I think it speaks to the growing importance of colored gemstones and consumers wanting something different. And we're going to get into that a little bit more later in this episode, but consumers wanting something different. There's a lot of variety in color, and it's a growing market. And, IGI, which is now owned by Blackstone and is now a public company, they want a piece of this pie. They want to get into something that's bigger, that's growing. And I think there's also the issue of, not putting all your proverbial eggs in one basket, right? Like IGI does a lot of diamonds, specifically a lot of lab-grown diamonds. And I know last year, particularly, a lot of conversations arose about the grading of lab-grown diamonds as they get less expensive. Should we grade them? How should we grade them? Is it even worth it to grade them as the price is dropping? So I thought that was an interesting bit of news, and it happened. The news dropped just as the shows are kicking off. The gem shows are kicking off in Tucson. So I thought that was an interesting development that speaks to the growing importance of the colored gemstone market, which is something our last guest, Sherry Smith, got into a little bit, talking about diamonds losing a little market share, colored stone kind of sales growing a little bit, holding steady / growing a little bit in 2025. So that was an interesting development for sure.
Yeah, and it spoke to two different things too that I think we've been seeing a lot more, and I think we also talked about in the last episode as well, is like these synergies that are happening. So like people coming together and doing things together, or like seeing the need for combining efforts to maximizing efforts. We're seeing a lot of that's happening through a lot of the different acronyms as well, including with JA and MJSA coming together last year, and DCA, right? So the acronyms joining forces to make the industry stronger and better, which makes sense. But then also, like you mentioned, diversification. So being able to offer a variety of different things and not putting all your eggs into the proverbial basket. Proverbial eggs into the basket?
I think they're both proverbial.
Okay,
I think either one works. But right, especially with, I definitely wouldn't put all my eggs in the lab-grown diamond basket right now. So I think it makes sense to me, the trying to get into the colored gemstone market.
Absolutely. Colored gemstones are, definitely having their moment. And I think for consumers, there's still so much room for education and growth, and gemstone speaks differently to every consumer, which is interesting, right? So as far as like people wanting something new and different, colored gemstones are where it's at.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. So that kind of ties us into the next bit of news is consumer confidence,
Yes.
right? So the U.S. consumer confidence fell in January to its lowest level since May 2014.
So even lower than it was during the pandemic,
Yep,
should be
even lower than
noted.
COVID, right? That's important to note. And that was kind of an interesting time too, right? Where it's like consumer confidence was down, everything was down, but jewelry sales still rose.
Yep.
So, I know you have an interesting opinion on consumer confidence and how it kind of equates to sales or buying habits. So, what are your feelings on that,
So
Michelle?
I'm going to mention two things.
Yeah.
Number one, we saw consumer confidence. We did quite a few stories last year about consumer confidence. Is it a 5-year low? Is it a 7-year low? Is it its lowest point since X year? But people were still shopping and
Yeah.
buying, and it sometimes seems there's a little bit like of a gap between how people feel and what they actually do.
Right.
So when the conference board specifically is measuring consumer confidence, there's I think five factors that they consider, and two of those factors are what they call the present situation index, and there's also the expectations index. So present situation, obviously, like how do you feel about the economy right now? How do you feel about the labor market? How do you feel about your personal financial situation? And then expectations look 6 months out. So I think people, even if they're not feeling great about the future, maybe they're feeling okay about their present situation. I think there's also something going on right now. It's a stressful time. It's a stressful time in the United States, and I think there's a lot of people that are it's retail therapy, and it sounds cliche, but it is. I think there are a lot of people that are buying little things here and there, maybe big things here and
Yeah.
there, to just treat themselves. And obviously, on shopping online makes it really easy to treat yourself. So I think there's a bit of that going on too, where people maybe do feel stressed about their present and or future situation, but they're still willing to do a little retail therapy. It's also worth pointing out, when the conference board does this index every month, there are write-in responses, and we always look at the write-in responses because I think they're so telling.
Yep.
This month or January, people were worried about prices, inflation, oil and gas prices, tariffs, the labor market, health insurance, how much the price of health insurance is going to go up. And then one that came in that I haven't seen in a long time was war.
Mm.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in 2026. But in 2025, I felt like we were always writing that consumer confidence was down, but people were still spending. But I don't know, is this the point at which now, I mean, is that eventually going to spill over into less spending? Is this the point at which consumers start to pull back? This also feeds into the bifurcation of the market, which we talked about
Yeah.
last episode too. People that are wealthy that have money, they don't, they're not paying attention to the gas price. If their prices are higher because of tariffs, it's not affecting them. If food prices are higher, it's not affecting them. So they're continuing to spend.
It's an
And it's kind
annoyance
of,
versus
it's an annoyance
Mhm.
versus, a life-changing
Sure.
situation.
Sure.
So I think, we see more spending at the very high end and more spending at the very low end. And Peter Smith wrote this article about this very topic,
Mhm.
the kind of abandoning in the middle, that the middle is where it's really going to suffer.
Sure. And where jewelry fits into all of this and the consumer confidence and the consumer spending is sort of yet to be seen, right?
Right.
It's like, what's the first thing to go? The great news is, to your point, jewelry makes you feel good when you wear it, when you buy
Yes.
it, when you give it. That's something that we have. And there's also that tangible feeling of having something that has value. So that's
Yeah.
why gold continues to be a very popular choice for consumers to buy. Not only is it a popular metal, but they feel comfortable making that purchase because it still has value, even if it's a trade-in value at the end of the day, or, if, God forbid they had to do something and sell their jewelry. There's value there,
Yeah.
unlike a lot of other purchases.
Right, right. You're not going to get any money for your flat screen TV or your shoes or your designer bag.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
I'm really glad you brought up gold because I want to talk too a little bit.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this already, but the yo-yo price of gold.
Yeah.
It dropped down to 47.82 recently, and it was down 30%. Silver was down 30%.
Yeah.
Gold was down significantly. So I think one thing, and I'm also going to mention Peter Smith here. I think a good thing to keep in mind is you can't do anything about the price of gold. You can't do anything about these macroeconomic events that make it go up, make it go down. And so control the controllables. Can't do anything about the price of gold or tariffs. So you need to worry about what in your business you can control. And I wouldn't be, I think this is good advice for almost anything, but I wouldn't be stalking, so to speak, the price of gold and worrying about it every day because it's going to go up, it's going to go down. A month from now, the situation could be entirely different. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's important. And yes, you should keep an eye on it. But I mean, also keep in mind, there's nothing, you just kind of have to work around it. There's nothing really you can do about what the price of gold is going to do.
Yeah, it's a long-term play, right? It's like the
Right.
stock market. It's like you're not retiring tomorrow, so you're not going to have to worry about that right now, but it's a long-term play. And um, a lot of people did very well when prices were high, and it's okay if it dips back down and it'll come back up. But yeah, just the constant up and down is taking people away from focusing on their business by
Right.
focusing on that on a day-to-day basis,
And I
hour to hour, minute to minute
Yeah,
basis.
that's what we're saying. Like you
Yeah,
don't have to look at it every single minute, every single day.
right.
It's not healthy. And I would also say, like, yes, I know retailers are driving you crazy, designers having just prices all the time,
Yeah.
but it's control the controllables, focus on the things you can control.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that's really interesting that we've been seeing in the industry, and you mentioned this at the start of the episode, is MJSA, Manufacturing Jewelers and
Yes.
Suppliers of America, just did a brought to you by a national jeweler.
Yes.
And I felt like this was really important because of the feedback that MJSA received following that brought to you by. So they have an apprenticeship program that is through the foundation, the MJSA Education Foundation. And the return to craft of trying to bring young people into the jewelry industry is something that we talk about on a daily basis, is what keeps people up at night.
Yeah.
So just being able to talk a little bit about the apprenticeship program and the response from the industry of this overwhelming need for programs like this, I felt was so encouraging to see so many people say, let's participate in this program. Lee Kromholtz, who's the chair of the MJSA committee for Jewelers of America's board, said the apprenticeship program were once a crucial conduit for new talent and passing on expertise, and we have to keep that pipeline of knowledge flowing. And I felt like that was such a good quote because it gives a nod to something that was once so successful, of
Hmm.
like truly apprenticeships, like building and putting your money and your resources into finding talent, nurturing them, and bringing them into your business.
Right.
And bench and manufacturing, and especially as we're talking about trying to bring manufacturing into the States, is a critical time for our industry.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, we hear that all the time. You mentioned up at night issues,
Yeah.
right? We hear about jewelers, searching, having problems finding help, if you will, finding good help,
Yeah.
and finding bench jewelers and finding manufacturers. Like we hear about bench jewelers specifically all the time. And I'm so glad to hear that MJSA got a good response to the brought to you by, and we love a brought to you by. Keep them coming. But no,
Yeah, keep
that's
them coming.
that's great because I mean, think
Yeah.
sometimes too, from our perspective, like there's so much content out in the world anymore that sometimes I feel like I'm just shouting into the void
Right.
when we're putting articles out on National Jeweler. Like, who's reading this? Is anybody reading this? We don't get as much one-to-one reader feedback as we did, when I started years ago.
Sure.
But it's nice to hear that MJSA got feedback and it was positive. And I think it is filling and it is showing a crucial need for something.
It's a crucial need, and it's like not just a US issue. Like feedback was coming in from other countries, of like how can we take advantage of something like that? And um, just a note on the program is that it was certified by the Department of Labor,
Yes,
which
we
I
wrote
think
about that.
which was really important to note, and that it's a 50-week curriculum that is a toolkit that's basically just built for the jeweler to make it as simple for both the apprentice as well as for the mentor.
And
So
is this the first program in its kind that's U.S. Department of Labor certified? Am I correct about that?
yes, I believe that to be true.
Okay.
I know in the U.S.
Yes.
because the U.K. does have a program as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the U.S. Department of Labor. It's the first of
Correct.
its kind certified.
Correct.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's great. And I'm so happy to hear the positive feedback
Yeah.
that people are seeing something and finding it useful because it's really, as a trade publication, that's really just always what we're trying to do.
And I think just the push for getting people into the craft of making jewelry is so important for community outreach. Like let's get as many people as excited as we can to use their hands and to come and bring new skills and new vision to the jewelry
Yeah.
industry is important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
new ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Love that.
All right, MJSA, we're ready for another brought to you by.
There you go.
Well, Amanda, this was a great discussion, but do
Yeah.
you know what is better than a great discussion?
Great guess.
Two great guests.
I'm so excited for this conversation.
Okay, so after the break, we're going to be joined by Marion Fasel.
Yes.
Marion Fasel is a jewelry author and historian and founder of The Adventurine, which you can now find on Substack.
Yes.
And Natalie Francisco, who is the associate editor of Fashion at National Jeweler. She covers trends, collections, designers, red carpets. So, she did the Golden Globes in January. She did the Grammys. So they're both going to be here and they're going to tell us their thoughts on the red carpet, how it affects trends, if it does at all. And then they're also going to share their favorite red carpet moments with jewelry.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about jewelry trends, staying or going, and what's going to be hot in 2026. So don't miss it, and you join us after the break.
Jewelers of America is the most trusted and influential voice of the jewelry industry. With a mission to empower and unite its members, Jewelers of America provides guidance, education, and advocacy to promote excellence, integrity, and success in an evolving marketplace. Since 1906, Jewelers of America has been advancing the fine jewelry industry, setting high ethical standards, and fostering professional growth for their members. Jewelers of America represents a large, diverse membership of retailers and suppliers who commit annually to the organization's code of professional practices. Visit jewelers.org to become a member and get insider access to the many member benefits. Hi, Marion and Natalie. Thank you so much for joining us on My Next Question.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. As everyone knows, we are in the midst of Moira Rose's favorite season, award season. And whenever there's red carpet coverage today, I see a lot of chatter online about the jewelry being boring, about it being too many big brands, too much Bulgari, too much Tiffany, too much Chopard, and not enough independent designers. And Marion, I know you have a different perspective having covered red carpet jewelry for years. Can you share that with us today?
Actually, I kind of agree with that. I don't think that's wrong. I mean, I think that there is a weariness because, when I started covering red carpet for a magazine in Style in the 1990s, it was like any little tiny diamond. We were like, oh my God, she's wearing diamond studs. Report it. I swear we would build stories around it. It was before the internet, it was so exciting because it was such a minimalist era. And now, it's like people are like, no, it's not good enough. I've seen too much high jewelry. I've seen too many, of these things. And it's, we've all gotten really picky. And I've actually definitively altered my coverage of the red carpet because it used to be like you did a roundup and everyone was just so happy to see who wore what when. And now I'm like, looks like so-and-so is out of his contract. Looks like somebody else got a contract. And look at that person wearing something completely original and unexpected. So I do more opinion. Because
more opinion.
I think it's really true what you're saying, that there's not only is there a weariness, but there's more of an education to the audience. They know what they're looking at, they know what they've seen before, and they really want, I feel, us as experts to chime in with more knowledge about the situation.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
That is interesting. So transitioning from that, my next question is actually for Natalie. You've covered the red carpet for a few years now. So what's your perspective on the jewelry that's being worn?
My perspective
And do you think it gets boring and or repetitive?
I do think it gets repetitive. It's not necessarily as boring, but I kind of, everyone that is a brand ambassador for these big brands, they're going to wear the brand, but it's what are they wearing from the brand? So Tiffany & Co., there's always a bird on the rock brooch. Bulgari, there's always a Serpenti piece, but it's kind of like Tiffany & Co. puts out their blue book every year. So who's going to wear a piece from that year's blue book? And so far this year was Amanda Seyfried with the waves necklace in their ocean themed blue book.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about men's jewelry. I think men's jewelry might be one area that's a little bit more interesting. So my next question is for both of you. I don't know whoever wants to jump in, but can you talk a little bit about men's jewelry on the red carpet and how it's evolved? And if you have any men's jewelry moments that stick out from you for the past couple of years, can you share those?
Well, men's jewelry, I feel like if one more person says, oh, it looks like brooches are coming back, I'm going to, just write a letter to the editor, because men's brooches have been back for so long that I feel they really have to do something different, they have to wear a ton of them, they have to wear a cluster of them, or they have to wear something different in the brooch category. But I also feel like really the savvy men have moved on from the brooches. They're wearing necklaces, they're wearing, rings, they're doing something that's a little bit different. And a lot of times, a lot of red carpets, I feel like the men they are the most interesting thing we're seeing.
Yeah, I would have to point out Coleman Domingo with, I think he was with Boucheron because he was just named their brand ambassador. He had a collection of ivy brooches that were going up his jacket and over his shoulder. And that really stood out to me as a way to put brooches back.
And Natalie, you're referencing the Golden Globes that just happened in January where he was wearing that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good look. This is not a red carpet moment, but I wanted to mention, this is a couple years old now, but I really like Jock Peterson, I believe his name is, the player for the Braves when the Braves were in the World Series a couple years ago. He was wearing the pearl necklace, which I thought was really interesting. And then this year we had the pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers wearing the sapphire necklace. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, especially the pearls, which doesn't seem like a very durable gemstone to be wearing during a game, but
it's questionable the amount of jewelry a lot of them wear during games, but I'm here for all of it. I mean, it's their risk to take, but I'm here for the fashion moments.
What about the Van Cleef Alhambra?
Exactly.
That was also worn, I believe, by a Los Angeles Dodger. He was wearing one of the blue lapis Alhambras. I mean, I saw so much coverage of that piece after the World Series, and I happened to be at a high jewelry preview for Van Cleef and Arpels. I overheard someone saying during the preview, the Yankees called. They said, we need to talk. Because that Alhambra got so much press, which,
That's funny.
I mean, it really is funny because, Alhambra was something that was so kind of prim for so long. I mean, it was really like an Upper East Side lady jewel, and now it's just been completely appropriated by the men, and, lots of hip hop stars love it. And I think it's great.
yeah, that's amazing.
There's been a lot of incredible hip hop moments. And I mean, even just looking at the Grammys, obviously there's a ton of jewelry worn by men. I feel like men tend to upstage the women sometimes because maybe it's that it's been a little bit more unexpected. You're expecting just to see the man brooch, so to speak. But to see, Pharrell with the, diamond necklaces and just, huge earrings and he wasn't the only one. Obviously, there was a lot of incredible jewelry at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my next question, Natalie, we'll start with you. What are Gen Z celebrities wearing compared with millennials and Gen Xers? And do you think that makes an influence of how customers of that same age demographic might buy jewelry today?
When I'm looking at the red carpet, I see it depends where celebrities fall in that Gen Z millennial gap. The gap isn't so large. A lot of people that are millennial, but they can kind of wear Gen Z looks, like Zendaya fits right there in that bridge between them. But really, it's kind of all up to each celebrity's style when I look at different pieces. Like Miley Cyrus, millennial, she's wearing a lot of ear stacks when I see her going out a little more of an edgy look. Meanwhile, other Gen Zs I see wearing a lot of big brands or kind of the Beers diamond earrings where it's just like an elevated and elegant, simple piece. But how that affects people in real life, not on the red carpet. My friends personally don't look to celebrities and really watch red carpet roundups and things like that. But that doesn't mean that they don't take that into account by accident. Oh, you were saying?
Oh, sorry, Natalie. And you're Gen Z, correct?
Yeah, I'm Gen Z. Just
how dare you ask a woman her age,
started.
Michelle?
It's not a specific range; it's an age.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting to see. So you don't So that's interesting. So you were saying your friends don't really look to red carpet roundups to get like style ideas. Where do they look typically? Do they do influencers, micro influencers?
They kind of fit into the group of people that don't want to follow trends, but are still accidentally. Like if you scroll TikTok, you look through Instagram, there's pieces getting recommended to you, there's people wearing things, and that kind of puts that into your brain without you realizing that you're following what this person's saying.
Interesting. Okay.
Marion, what's your take on the age, gap of what you're seeing, different ages and different demographics of both men and women for red carpets? Are you seeing any of them taking more risk?
I think it's, this is such a popular thing to divide everything up by generation now, Gen X and Gen Z, Gen Y, all of them. And yeah, I mean, definitely the younger generations are certainly, I think, especially, again, we're kind of back to the men, are more risk-taking. You can't help but think of Chapel Roan at the Grammys putting on
That was a risk.
And Marion, how would you describe Chapel Roan's look at the Grammys? Describe it for our listeners who might not have seen it.
Well, I wrote about it on my Substack, and
There
it's
you
like,
go.
I would really have to stretch back my mind and do a little more time than I had to find a Buccellati red carpet credit. They're not a brand, that you see on the red carpet. They are one of the most traditional, Italian. The style doesn't change that often. You miss a press preview with Buccellati. It's like, okay, I don't think it's too much danger for me missing a trend because they don't change. That's part of their charm. We all love them for that. Somehow, some way, somewhere, Chapel Roan got her hands on and dusted off a Buccellati choker, which is in a recent collection, which makes me believe it was loaned by the brand and not, like a vintage piece, because I thought, oh, maybe she got it from a, vintage somewhere. Anyway, she wore it with a 1990s recreation of a Terry Mugler dress, and that on the red carpet, on the runway of Terry Mugler in 1996 or 1998 was actually attached to the model's nipple rings. And Chapel recreated this, but it took about a hot second for the internet to realize she was wearing prosthetics. And I was like, oh boy, that just makes the 90s seem all the more daring, because that's one thing that's definitely fascinated me is how the younger generations are obsessed with the 90s.
Yeah. Well, it's their 70s, right? Because I feel like growing up, it's their 60s or 70s. I mean, it seems sad to me when we're like, well, the 90s is vintage now, because I'm like, in my mind, I just got out of high school.
Right.
But that's not really what the case is now, is it? So I think it just seems, and I think I think this is a little bit off topic, but I think they also are fascinated to think about a time of like living without all the technology. Totally. And I think that seems like alluring and interesting then to them.
Yeah. No, but it was great. It was very risk-taking. And I think that in many ways, in terms of the red carpet, that if someone is not going to, jolt you out of your kind of one look after another, then, as Natalie was saying, the younger generations aren't going to be interested. But
right.
I assure you, everyone knows about that,
Yes.
No matter your generation.
Yeah.
And just a quick note on Buccellati. I believe that Buccellati just opened a store in Vegas either in 2025 or 2024. So I'm wondering, too, if they aren't trying to make more inroads in the U.S. market. And what better way to do that than to get kind of like the singer of the moment. She's a Gen Z icon, get her in something really interesting, really nostalgic on the red carpet.
Totally, but I doubt they knew how she was going to wear it.
Well,
I mean,
she got them a lot of press, right? I mean, that's what you want.
She got the impressions, as you say.
Yes. She got the clicks.
I mean,
she got the clicks.
That's the wonderful thing about the Grammys, too. I mean, you see that risk-taking happening, but to see these traditional brands, like, have these moments is fun to see. And I hope it was intentional. I hope for them that it was intentional. So, interesting.
Very interesting. So I want to ask, That
Yeah.
was fresh. That was a heck of a thing to see on Instagram this morning, I'll tell you that.
It's like, hello,
So one more
good
question
morning.
before good morning. One more question before we move on to jewelry trends. Can you both share with us one or the other your favorite red carpet look from the past year and your favorite red carpet look of all time? Natalie, we'll start with you. I think Marion needs to have a think here.
No, I
Okay.
know.
Oh.
Well, my one from the past year, I kind of have a more personal, edgy style when I look at pieces. So Doja Cat, I believe it was, let me think, the Oscars last year. She was wearing Masika pieces, and obviously Doja Cat wearing a leopard print dress, and then she has these
Ah.
humongous yellow diamonds by Masika. I believe it was a yellow gold collar, and then like a 34 karat yellow diamond dropping from it. So it just had that perfect edginess, but also met her personal style, and then some elongated
Mhm.
earrings to go with that too. That was my perfect one for the past year. But overall, I can never stop thinking about that archival Tiffany and Co necklace that Lady Gaga wore at at last year's Grammys.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it kind of fit into that vintage look, with which literally being vintage from the 1930s, and then bringing it
Right.
into like modern times.
Good choices.
And I like you calling vintage from the 30s literally vintage. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Not 90s vintage. Marion, how about you?
I can barely speak. My excitement level was so high, I could barely work the day after Margot Robbie wore Elizabeth Taylor's Taj Mahal diamond on the red carpet for Wuthering Heights. I think that moment showed how the potential of what jewelry can be on the red carpet. And like Natalie was saying, it was similar to when Lady Gaga wore the Tiffany diamond. I mean, there was no
At
other
the Academy Awards when she won for A Star Is Born, right?
No, she did wear it the Star Is Born year, and
Okay.
she. But anyway, Margot Robbie in that necklace, I mean, it pulled together everything that had to be said about the movie, the way Emerald Fennell was also referencing old Hollywood. It was about passionate, obsessive, crazy, furious love, like Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. It was a heart-shaped diamond, it was. And the dress that went with it was so incredible. I mean, as a jewelry historian, as much as like a red carpet jewelry editor, it just straddled these two worlds. And I mean, I'm here in Los Angeles, and I was speaking to the Elizabeth Taylor Foundation, and they just were like, talk about impressions, billions and billions and billions of impressions. And it introduced a whole new generation to, the piece of jewelry, which isn't perhaps as well known as some of her other treasures. And, it continues this, our jewelry goddess of all time, Elizabeth Taylor, this love of her, which, really, we got that when Kim Kardashian wore her girandole earrings over the summer or last summer at the couture collections. And, of course, Taylor Swift having the song Elizabeth Taylor. So, as a longtime big fan, number one in front of the line of Elizabeth Taylor, I cannot recover from this moment. It was so huge for me, and so of all time, that's like catapulted into one of my top 10 of all time.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. Major.
It was that good.
It was
No, that was really good.
It was we will never forget it. So like I say, and also just like the potential, because jewelry has this potential, and when it just becomes kind of milk toast or mid, or we're just seeing another, thing we've seen a million times, then people kind of forget what jewelry has the potential to do. It wiped it out. I mean, I wrote about it, everyone wrote about it. It's like in the Vogue story, it kind of cracked me up online, because they were like, oh, she wore this incredible Schiaparelli couture. But anyway, there's this necklace. It was kind of like, moving
Finally,
on.
the reverse.
Let's talk about the treasure, whereas so many times it's just left off in fashion coverage. All time.
But the necklace really was everything with that outfit.
It was everything. Well, but I mean, that dress was incredible. She's
Yes,
saying,
yeah, it was,
I
but
mean, the dress, if
Yeah.
she had on, like just a black dress, we might not have gotten quite as excited, but it was
That's
a
true.
gown, it was a
yes.
gown. All time, I am going to go with something unexpected. I think Kate Blanchett must have been about 1996 wearing a black Givenchy, and she had on Indian gold jewelry that
Yeah.
was borrowed from Cynthia Bach. And I love it because it's kind of a sub-theme of what we're talking about today. It's something that it was so outlaw. It was so unbranded. It was so, like Cynthia Bach just had that jewelry in her drawer and ended up with Kate Blanchett.
So do I. So
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.
like the stylist was out of the room and they just kept on putting it on. And I mean, inevitably, I saw a journalist talk about, she was writing about gold, it was Town and Country. And that picture always comes back, because it's just so impactful and so different and special and unique. So one of my favorite of all time, for sure.
Well, that's amazing, Marion. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have I just love talking to you. So you just have such a wealth of knowledge and a history, and going back into the things in the 90s. It's amazing to hear.
A true jewelry historian.
Yep.
So transitioning out of red carpet and going into jewelry trends a little bit, let's talk about some current jewelry trends. But let's do a little bit of a lightning round. So Michelle and I are going to throw a couple trends your way, both of you. And you can tell us if they're going to stay or go for 2026. So we'll go through each of them. Each of you jump in. And Michelle will kick it off with the first one.
And to be clear, this is not your opinion if you'd like it to see it stay or go, but what you think will actually happen,
Yes.
whether you like it or not.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Are we good?
You can actually answer both if you prefer. I want it to go away, but I think it will stay.
All right, we're going to start with number one. Natalie, we're going to start with you on this one. Snakes.
Snakes. That's a kind of a tricky one. I think that it's going to stay, but not as prominently as it has been. It's kind of going to be a little bit replaced by the horse motif because this is the year of the fire horse. But
Yes.
antique snakes, they're a classic.
Marion, snakes?
Oh, yeah, I actually agree. I don't think we're going to see as much of the horse as people are going to write about it. And I, too, wrote a story about it, and I think we will see some of it, but I don't think it's going to be, it's a blip.
I think we'll see more horseshoes than like horse heads or horse bodies. I think it's just
Yeah.
that's that
Exactly.
translates much easier into jewelry than having. I mean, a horse head is like you really have to like horses a lot to do that.
Right. That's not like the
You have to
symbol
be a
of
horse
luck.
girl.
That's not the symbol of luck or anything else.
No.
So, yeah. All right. So next up, multiple ear piercings. Marion, starting with you.
Oh, it's staying. It's absolutely here to stay. And elevated ear cuffs all over. And I too said elevated ear cuffs are gonna. I mean, I see them more on the red carpet. It's not just like a huggy anymore. It's definitely a fully designed thing. Gwyneth Paltrow wore the new Just on Clue ear cuff at the Marty Supreme premiere, and I Cartier sent it out, and I said, wait a minute, hold on, when on earth did Cartier start making ear cuffs? And they were like, oh, we just launched it, so, and
Yeah.
I mean, they have it, and Tiffany actually has a T ear cuff I didn't know about. I went down a rabbit hole looking for all of that. So it's going to be here at the high end, it's going to be here at the piercing end, it's just here to stay. Yeah, they were all over at Couture. I was looking at ears everywhere in all those cases during the trade show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know. It's the hardest way to display something, too. It's like so awkward, just the little rubber ear, but it's a little strange.
You need an
Natalie?
ear. Yeah.
You do need an ear. You have to have an ear.
Mhm.
So you agree, Natalie?
I do agree. And even thinking back, I mentioned Coleman Domingo before. He had an ear cuff too by Boucheron. So it's not just women wearing them, but men styling their ears too. And
Love
you don't
that.
need to have an ear piercing to wear an ear cuff.
Yeah, that's a nice part of the ear cuff for sure.
Mhm.
Love anything from Coleman Domingo, to be honest.
Yeah.
What about the next one? Marion, we'll start with you again. Yellow gold.
Oh my God. It's it's here to stay. It's getting bigger. It doesn't seem to matter how expensive it is. I mean, it's all very counterintuitive. You think gold is more expensive. Oh, well, people are going to wear less of it. We are going to see more silver. We are going to see more costume jewelry, which has just been everywhere. There was actually a lot at the Grammys on Queen Latifah on the red carpet was wearing Alexis Bittar, and Lauryn Hill was in something amazing. But gold, I mean, look at engagement rings. It's like the diamond and gold are now kind of becoming equal in these puffy rings. And so many designers are just going bigger with the gold. It's just a super precious material. Yes.
Yep, Natalie, yellow gold.
It's definitely here to stay. I see a lot of white gold and platinum on the red carpet, but every day gold is everywhere, and especially chunky. It's almost more like exclusive and more wanted that it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Natalie, next up, the neck mess.
Hashtag neck mess.
The hashtag neck mess. I personally like to indulge in a hashtag neck mess. So I think they're here to stay. How messy and how many layers people are putting on, maybe that's their personal choice and the difference between how this trend stays. But I see it continuing. People love charms.
Marion?
I think we're going to see less of it.
Oh.
Okay.
I have to be a dissenting voice at some point,
I like
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Here, what about bubble letters? Natalie, stay or go?
I think bubble letters specifically is going to go.
Okay. Marion, bubble letters, stay or go?
I kind of just there. They're going to be there.
They'll be there. Okay. Next up.
Chunky's in, but letters not so much, I think.
There you go. Next up, hoop earrings. Stay or go? Marion?
Stay. Big time.
Natalie?
Especially at the Grammys, that there were hoop earrings everywhere, even with men, just one single hoop earring on the side. That's what Bad Bunny had on.
Diamond tennis necklaces, stay or go?
I just did a whole story on this. They are not tennis necklaces, Michelle. They are
Bracelets
Rivieres.
are tennis bracelets.
They're
Rivieres.
Rivieres.
Good point
Okay,
of
sorry.
point of distinction.
No. I did a story. I actually did it kind of for a sense of humor, but people were like, "Oh my God, thank you for saying that." The historical term for a diamond necklace, which is close to the kind of a choker-ish in style with diamonds going all the way around, is Riviere. It's a Riviere. People call them Rivieras. All the time in jewelry. I feel like saying, go to my Substack if you want the long answer on this. Are they here? Yeah, they've suddenly come out of the woodwork again on men and women.
So it's a tennis bracelet, but it's a Riviere necklace.
Correct.
Okay.
Natalie, here, stay or go?
I think they're going to stay. They're kind of a classic, and that can contribute to a neck mess. Throw on another necklace, and there you go, especially if it's diamonds.
Okay, ladies, last up, the gemstone of choice as emerald. Stay or go?
I'm a little
Natalie?
mixed on this. I think emeralds are popular, but I see a lot of more unique gemstones coming up. Like people are focusing more on a gemstone that is special, not so easily found, especially with the AGTA Gem Fair in Tucson going on. Everyone's looking for that diamond, well, not diamond, colored gemstone that makes that piece unique. Like think like a mandarin garnet. Not something you see every day.
Marion, emerald?
Yeah, I didn't know emeralds were
gem.
having a moment.
Yeah?
Passed me by entirely. I'm scooting into the computer. I'm like, are they? Can I get some reporting on that? I love them. I love them, and I wish they would come back the way they did. I mean, again, I'm going back to the 90s, so maybe it could be another 90s trend. It's kind of like not that formal kind of emerald that you see at the big houses, but really more of a funky kind of emerald, which, with more inclusions that you see kind of more independent designers using. I'd like that to make a huge comeback. Huge.
All right.
But I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, okay, good. I'm clocking in with that. I am checking in with that.
Excellent.
So one last question before we let you go today. What What new trends, if any, that were not mentioned before, do you see coming online in 2026?
Natalie,
So
start with you.
I think alternative materials is definitely going to be growing this year. We've already seen it on the red carpet with Bulgari had DLC coated steel and that new Bimini necklace they debuted at the
Mm.
Golden Globes, I think on Lisa. And so that's kind of showing like, it's not just a focus on gold. Let's do something interesting. Let's do something innovative. Boucheron had 3D sand printing done with its quad tray sand cuffs, I believe. So it's kind of that chunky look, but instead of all gold, there was kind of that gold base and then black sand over it. So I think it's
Mm.
something we're gonna be looking for something fun. Gold is increasing in price, but it doesn't always mean that everyone is kind of switching for ways to use less gold by using materials like this. But some people are. Like you can add wood, leather, cord. That's definitely coming up too.
Marion?
Marion,
Yeah,
any new trends for 2026?
yeah. I feel like the 90s thing is just going so strong and continuing on. And like the armband, I feel like I'm the only one kind of raising my hand every time someone wears an armband because I remember them so well in the
Yeah.
90s. Like Chapel Roan wore one on stage at the Grammys. Zoe Kravitz has been wearing it. Emma Stone has been wearing it. We already said the hoops are going strong. I think people want the chunkiness again. I feel like I'm seeing that, the move into that. I mean, my mind is a blank at all the trends I wrote about for the year, but, cool stuff. People
Yeah.
want a sense of freedom. They want a sense of individuality with their
Yeah.
jewelry, to be sure. And I think we're seeing more of that. I think we're seeing rebellion in jewelry.
Yeah, I think everybody, if you ask somebody who owned a jewelry store, when people come in, everybody tells them, I want something different. I want something different,
Yes.
whether they're, just shopping for jewelry for themselves or shopping for an engagement ring. So I think that's a good point, Marion. And I think the 90s was definitely about individuality and expressing that and a little rebellion as well.
And all signs are pointing to that with some of the red carpet coverage that we've been seeing. So
Yes.
it'll be a fun year to watch to see what happens with the jewelry trends.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much, Marion, Fasel, and Natalie Francisco. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you both being with us on My Next Question.
It was
Thank you for
way
having
too
me.
fast. Oh my God. It went by in the blink of an
know.
eye. I don't want it to end. Have me back. I loved it.
Well, we will have you back, Marion.
We
How's that?
promise.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if we were right at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
that's a
Let's
good
go
one.
back.
Yeah.
All right. That
Excellent.
sounds good to
Checklist,
me.
yes
Sounds
or
like-
no.
Yeah, exactly. You were wrong, Marion.
We will check your Substack,
I didn't see any
Marion.
more. I didn't see any more armbands, Marion.
It was ending. It was over.
Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
For 120 years, National Jeweler has been a trusted source of news and information for fine jewelry retailers, designers, and manufacturers. The publication delivers up-to-date information and commentary on the latest trends, headlines, and happenings via its daily newsletter and its 2 flagship print publications, the State of the Majors and the Retailer Hall of Fame. To learn more and subscribe, visit nationaljeweler.com/subscribe. You can also find us on Instagram. Our handle is @nationaljeweler, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. So we're going to wrap up today with something a little lighthearted. It's like how we want to end every episode of My Next Question, and we're calling it Facets of Fun. Amanda came up with that, so if you don't like it, blame Amanda.
Great.
So
Send me the hate mail.
so I want to talk today, since we're in the middle of award season, we talked red carpet with Natalie and Marion. I want to talk about best jewelry moments on screen of all time, like your all-time favorite jewelry moments.
So many good ones.
And I have one, and I don't know if this one is under the radar, if this is very basic of me, but I loved Kate Hudson in that movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I think it was the dress for me as much as the yellow diamond with did she work for the fake De Beers, or did her
She did, I think. Wait, I don't
Sure,
remember.
I don't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but there was a company that was supposed to be De Beers involved,
Yes.
and she went to this reception in this gorgeous yellow dress, and if I recall correctly, a big yellow diamond.
Yes.
And I love that dress, and like I said, for me, it's probably the dress as much as the diamond, but I think for me too, when I look at red carpet, it's the whole look for me.
Yeah.
Like stuff that stands out to me, and maybe this is just the Virgo in me, but it's stuff that's really well put together, where everything kind of matches, it kind of makes sense. If there needs to be a necklace, there's a necklace. If a necklace doesn't work, there's no necklace. So I really love that whole look.
I love that one.
I
Kate
didn't
has
steal yours, did I?
No, not
Oh,
at
okay.
all. I have a couple.
Okay.
Okay. I know you said favorite. So favorite of all time, as soon as you talk about jewelry in the movies, the first thing that comes to my mind is one of the most iconic things. And again, it was probably the moment in the movie as much as it was about the piece.
I know what you're going to say.
Pretty Woman.
Ah! Yes, yes.
The iconic hand drop moment where the box drops, her hands in there. And it's, of course, it's the ruby and diamond necklace that she wears with that red dress.
Yeah.
And
And they go to the opera
and they
on the helicopter.
Yes. And it's like the most like magical moment. And of course, to have jewelry at the center of it, it's incredible. But just that box dropping and her laughter. And that's probably, to me, when I think about jewelry in the movies, that's like one of the most iconic moments. for
And we
me.
know what was his name in the movie? I
Richard,
can't remember.
oh,
Richard Gere, I can't remember. But his character says, "Oh, well, I borrowed this necklace," and she was like, they let you borrow this?" And he's like, "I'm a very good customer." But yeah, she just looked exquisite in that red dress with the necklace. I love that moment too. I think
Yes,
it's so good.
it's a great moment. Another moment that you, I think, confessed to me one time that you've never seen is, of course, Ocean's 8
Okay.
with Sandra Bullock. I can't believe you've never seen this movie, Michelle.
I've never seen any of the Ocean's movies.
Okay, but I understand all the others. This one, the entire plot is centered around a jewelry heist. And one particular necklace, which happens to be Cartier, and it's the Toussaint necklace, which was a recreation of a piece from 1931, I think, that no longer exists anymore. But the whole idea of them like going in and like getting this incredible piece of jewelry out of their archives in the vault of their their New York City store for a celebrity to wear, and then they have to recreate it, and they it's you need to watch it, Michelle.
Okay,
It's a
all
good
right.
one.
I'm also
I'm not having you go watch Brad Pitt. I'm having you watch a jewelry movie.
Okay, all right. I'll go and watch it.
Okay.
I'm going to mention one more, and this isn't necessarily a jewelry moment, but it's one of my favorite movies from childhood, and it does center around a gemstone. Have you ever seen Romancing the Stone
Oh yeah.
with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner?
Yep.
And Danny DeVito? There was like a little moment in the 80s where they were making a few movies together,
Uh-huh.
and this is one of them. My brother and I had a select grouping of movies that we had on VHS tape.
Love it.
This is the 80s. And this was one of our favorites. And I just love the whole story. It's wacky. I love Danny DeVito in it. And of course, the plot is all these people are racing to find this giant emerald that's hidden in this, I think it's like a statue of a bunny.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Douglas finally finds it, cracks the mud bunny statue, and pulls out the emerald. And I just, it's nostalgic for me. It's something my brother and I
Childhood.
watched together all the time as a kid and laughed about. And, who knew I'd be writing about emeralds as an adult
Right? And,
after watching that movie 500 times with my brother in the basement?
and emeralds being popular again.
Yes.
Who knew?
Yes.
Can I throw a wild card in?
Sure.
I was thinking back to jewelry in a movie, and I'm like, what is something that's a little unexpected? And I saw someone cover something similar, and it was Eddie Murphy's Crown in Coming to America.
I love Coming to America.
And-
Would you believe I didn't see Coming to America until the pandemic? I watched it. I was staying with a friend in Atlanta, and she was like, "I can't believe you haven't." She showed me so many movies I'd never seen.
It's such a good movie. But what I found interesting about the crown, first of all, the creation of the crown was incredible, and that it was real, and they used gemstones, and like the crown itself is so spectacular. But it was at least reported as one of the first pieces of jewelry to go on a world tour following the
Mm.
movie. So they actually sent it to cities to be on display because it was like such an important marker of like movie history. But it was one of the first touring pieces of jewelry, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, that's
From a
awesome.
movie.
That's a great movie.
It was iconic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll see many more, but as
Yeah.
you,
After we finish taping this, I'll think of about 10 more that I really like, but that's the way it
of
goes.
course, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a million more moments we could talk about, but
Yeah, for sure.
always fun, Michelle.
Always good to talk with you, Amanda.
Always good. So thank you so much to everybody else for tuning in. This is another episode of My Next Question. Don't forget to subscribe to My Next Question wherever you get your podcasts and follow Jewelers of America at Jewelers of America members on Instagram, as well as National Jeweler at National Jeweler for all the latest news and insights on the jewelry industry.
And we'll be back next month with another great episode. I think we know what we're going to do, but we're not going to tell you. So you're going to have to tune in. Thank you so much.
Bye.